Right. Today's session will be on conditional statements. First, we'll understand what is this conditional statements, and then we'll see examples or say some macros on this, how we can write macros using this conditional statements. So what all things we are learning today in this conditional statements, I'll just show you. See, we'll learn about what are conditional statements, then we'll see how to use if statement, then how to use this if end statement, then I have else statement, else if statement, then select case statement. So these are the topics what we are actually learning in this session. Okay, so instead of going through all these slides, what I'll do is I'll take you through how to work on these options by macros directly in Excel. Okay, let me open one Excel sheet. Let's first save this Excel sheet. Go here, we'll take our folder, then say class 5, say save. Fine, say double case if statement, say alt F11, control R, then I'll rename this module. Right click, we'll insert a module and we'll name this module as well. So this is the first step what we have to do always. Once you're ready, then we'll start writing the programs. First, we'll see how we can learn the syntax of this if statement, and also we'll see how to start writing macros by using this if statement, or also it is called as conditional statements. Say sub if condition. I'll go here and say if. Let's go to this Excel sheet. Here I'll mention in D5, say sales value, and I'll say 6,000. Here I want a status saying that if this value, the value which is in D6, if it is greater than 5,000, then the status should be high. Otherwise, it should be low. Let's go back to my code. What we'll do is, in the previous session, we learned about the data types. We'll start using these data type concepts here. Say dim. Let's assume that my sales value will not increase 32,767. So I'll give it as integer, sales as integer. Now we'll take this int sales, the value whatever is there in this range, that is in D6 dot value to int sales. Now what we'll do, we'll try to use this if conditions. So what is the syntax? If criteria, that is if int sales, the criteria was if it is greater than 5,000, then double case if dot range of E6 dot value is equal to high. If you see here, I'm checking the condition here. Say int sales is greater than 5,000. Then I'll say E6 dot value is equal to high. If this is true, then this statement is executed. Let me run this. See, it will run this statement. What if it is false? Let me make it as 4,000. Now the condition is false here. That means here the value is 4,000. int sales will be 4,000. So the criteria will be 4,000 is greater than 5,000, wherein this will be false. In that case, what will happen? This will not execute. See, it will leave blank. If you want, you can go here and debug this. See, it is checking the condition. It is false, so it is coming out instead of giving me any result. Let me make it as 6,000 again. Let me run this. See, if this criteria is true, it will execute this, it will give me the result. If I have only one statement to be executed, then I can use this format. What if I want to do some calculation, let's say this divided by 12. If you want to do this calculation, then what should I do? One more statement I have to give here, but in this syntax I cannot do. What should I do? What I'll do is, let me copy this, paste it here, say Endif. We'll take the statement like this and I'll say Endif. See, now this program and this program both are same. Now if I execute, I'll get the result as high. See, I'm getting high. If I make it as 4000 and if I run the program, then I'll not get any result because I'm not given any false statement here. If this is true, it will execute this statement. My requirement was I have to use one more calculation or say one more statement in this. In this case, I'm using only one statement, but if I want multiple statements, then I can use this option. So I'll just copy one more and here I'll say wks if dot range of g6 dot value is equal to int sales divided by 12. See, I cannot use this syntax for writing multiple statement to be executed. So I have to use if, then criteria, then the statements, end. I can use this way also, or multiple statements can be executed like this also. But if it is only one statement, I have to use this. Fine. Now let me run this. So I'll get the result here with this, along with this. But here I'm not getting because I'm not having the false statement. Let me copy this. I'll go here. Now what I'll do, I'll use one false statement that is called as else. Let me copy and I'll paste it here. I'll make it as low. It says if this criteria is true, then execute this statement. If it is false, then execute this statement. If you take the previous program, here I don't have that false statement. That is else statement is not there. Now let me execute this F5. See, I'm getting this low. That means if the criteria is true, then it will execute this statement. If it is false, it will go to this statement. If I'm not specifying this, it is ignored. That means it will just check if it is true, it will execute. Otherwise, it will not give me any result. What if I have multiple criteria to be checked? For example, I have the criteria saying int sales is greater than 500. Oh, sorry, 5000. What if I want to check some more conditions here? Let's say I want to check if the value is greater than 200, it should be medium. If it is greater than 5000, it should be high. Otherwise, it should be low. In that case, I'll be using else if. Let me go here and include else if int sales is greater than 2000. Then we copy this and I'll paste it here. I'll say medium. See, if you see here, if this condition is true, this statement is executed. If this is false, it will go to this statement. If this condition is true, it will execute this statement. If this again is false, then it will go to default statement. Let's debug this. Say F8. I have the same program here. You make it as else if. See, this is false. It is going to this statement. If this is true, it will execute this. It will come out. See, this saying medium. If you go to the previous program, here I have only one criteria. If it is false, then it will go to this statement. Now if you run this, see here, this will go to low. It will make it low. Let's come to this program. Let's understand few things. If I'm using this if block, This if should have Endif. If at all I want a default value if the criteria is not true, then I can use this else statement. This is not compulsory. Else statement, if you're not giving, then the default value or the false value is not given. If there are multiple criterias in the sense this one, the conditions what I'm checking. If there are multiple criterias, then I'll be using else if. You cannot use two if statement like this. If I'm using if statement, then there should be one end if statement for that. Any point of time, if I'm starting with if, then end if should be there. Now if I execute this program, see, I'm not given else if, I'm just using this if statement. If I run this, see, I'll get an error saying that block if without end if. If I'm getting this error, just note down this, say block if without end if. That means I'm having if, end if is there. But what about this if there is no end if? That means for one if, there should be one end if. If at all I need a default statement or a false statement, then I'll be using this else. If I'm having multiple criteria, then I have to give else if conditions. You can have n number of else if statements, but one if statement, one else statement, one end if statement. You cannot have multiple else statements. Let me execute this. See, I'm getting the result. So this is the syntax of the conditional statements. We'll work on some examples. Let me take one example. Here I'll give an example of age and say status. Let me take the criteria here. I'll say 0 to 12 is kid, 13 to 19 is teenage, then 20 to 40 we'll say young, the 41 to 75 we'll say adult, and then above 75 we'll say old. This is the criteria what I'm actually trying to check. If I'm giving some age here, so based on these criteria, I need to get the status. Let's try to run the program here. Let's say I'll give one random age here, go here, and we'll start writing the program. Sub get age. Let's take this age into one variable, say dim. I'll use byte, say byte, age as byte. The reason why I'm using byte is the age will not go beyond 255, right? Byte age equals wcase if dot range of j6 dot value. Now we'll put this condition, say if byte age is greater than 75, then first let's take all the conditions. That's a good practice actually, so that you'll not miss any of the conditions here. If byte age is greater than 75, then else if byte age is greater than, what is the criteria? We'll take it as 40. Then let me copy this. Instead of typing, I'll just copy and paste. Say if it is greater than 19, then put one more condition, that is if it is greater than 12, else end if. See, I put all the criteria. The statement we'll put later. First we should take this condition so that I'll not miss any conditions here. If the age is greater than 75, then I'll say wcase if dot range of this one k6 dot value is equal to old. Suppose, let me copy this. Suppose if it is greater than 40, that means this one. I'll say adult. Suppose if it is greater than 19, that means from 20. Then I'll say young. Let me take here, if it is greater than 12 means it will come to 13 to 19, then teenage. If none of these conditions are true, then I'll say kid. See, if the value, say if the age is greater than 75, I'll say old. If the age is greater than 40, that means greater than 40 means 41 till this 75. If I have say 74, then what will happen? This will be false. 74 is greater than 75. What it will do? It will go here. 74 is greater than 40. That means this is true. It will execute this. If the age is greater than 19, that means from 20 to 40, then it will take this statement. If it is greater than 12, greater than 12 means 13, 13 to 19, then it will go to teenage. If none of these conditions are true, then what it will do? It will go to this statement and then we'll say F5. See, it will give me the result. So what I did, I just took all the criteria and I put it here. But what if someone enters 200 here, which is actually, practically not possible. 200, a person's age. If I run this, it says old. See, F8, 200 is greater than 75. Yes, it will execute here because the statement is true and it will come out. It says old. But I want to put one validation here saying if the value, if the age is greater than 100, then say the age what you entered is invalid. Then what I'll do, I'll go here. Let me copy this. We'll paste it down. Let's make it a validation saying that if age is greater than 100, then I'll copy this and I'll paste it here and I'll say invalid. Fine. But I told you I can have only one if in this block. Then what I'll do is I'll convert this into else if. Say if it is greater than 100, then it will say the value what you entered is invalid. Now let me execute this. See, it says invalid, right? So let me save this. Suppose when I'm using these kind of codes, let me make a copy of it. What if the order is changed? Let me take this, or let me take this only, and I'll put it somewhere here after this 75. And let me like this. Right. If you check this, I have no errors because syntax wise the complete program is perfectly all right. If the age is greater than 75, it should be older. If it is greater than 12, yes, I'll say it is teenage. But what will happen? Let's go here and I'll say 67. Let me try to execute this program. See, first criteria 67 is greater than 100. It is false. It is coming to the next criteria. 67 is greater than 75. That is false. It will go to the next criteria. Here it says 67 is greater than 12. This is absolutely true. So it is true statement. So what it will do, if I say F8, it will execute this. It will come out. It says it is teenage. If you see syntax wise, I have no issues, no problem. Everything is perfect. But logically, if you see, it is giving me 67 as teenage because the statement is here like that. If at all, if you want to give something like this, first of all, you should not give like this. If at all, you have already moved here like this, if you want to work on this, what I can do is I can use an operator that is AND operator. Byte age is less than or equal to 40. These are the operators: greater than, less than, less than or equals to AND operator. Why should we use this AND operator? I'll explain. When I'm using this criteria, say byte is greater than 12, and also I have one more condition here which says byte is less than or equal to 40. If I'm using this AND operator, the criteria which I'm using here, both should be true. If one of them is false, then this is considered as false. That means it is not the right criteria, it will move on to the other one. Now since I have put this, let me go and try to execute this program. Say F8. See, now it's coming here. Previously it gave me as teenage. Let's check the criteria. 67 is greater than 12. Yes, this is true. But there is one more condition here. 67 is less than or equal to 40, which is false. That means I told you if it is AND operator, both the criteria should be true. In this case, one of the condition is false. So what it will do? It will move on to the next criteria. Here it says 67 is greater than 40. Yes, it is absolutely true. It will execute this program. It will come out and it will give me the right results. If you go back to the program, whenever you're writing any program, make sure you're actually giving the criteria in proper order. Otherwise, you will end up with wrong results. You will not get error in the program. You will get the wrong results, which will end up with messing up your projects. So that's why I'll always tell, make sure that you have the proper order like this, what you have. If at all you're actually giving something like this with a non-sequential order, then what you can do is you can use this AND operator, or we also have something called as OR operator, which will help you in getting the result like this. Fine. This is for the numbers. Let's say I want to check for text. If you want to work on text, what I'll do, let's go here. We'll take one more example, say region, and say region code. Here I'll say north, east, west, and say south. Let me go here. I'll say if it is north, I should get N, east is E, W, and say S. Let me take this and I'll paste it here. If I'm typing north here, then I should get N. If I'm typing east, then I should get E, west, W, south, S. So let's write a program for that. Alt F11, scroll down, say sub get region code. Let's take this into one variable. Dim str will say region as string. Str region equals wcase if dot range of say R6 dot value. If str region equals north, then let me put all the conditions first, and then what we'll do is we'll give the statement. Why I actually practice this is it will become easy for me, so that I've covered all the criteria. People actually what they do is they'll say if criteria, then they'll put the statement, and again else if. That is also fine. It all depends on how you practice. But why I do like this is it is good that I remember all the criteria. It will be like I'll not be missing any criteria. Else if str region equals east, then let me copy this and I'll paste it here. This is for east, this is for west, then I'll say else Endif. If you see this, if it is north, then I should get N. If it is east, I'll get E. If it is west, I'll get W. If none of these conditions are true, then I'll say let it be S. So that's what I wanted here in S6. Let me copy this, paste it. I'll say S6 equals N. Copy this, paste it. I'll make it as E. Next one, paste it. Let's say W, and then I'll say S. Let me put one enter mark so it will be easy for you to understand. See, if it is north, then it should be N. If it is east, then it should be E. West, I'll say W, and then if none of these conditions, then I'll say S. Let me execute this program. See, I'm getting the result. Let me make it as south. Let's execute this. Say F8. See, it is checking south equals north. No, then it is going here. This is also not south. This is also not south. That means none of these conditions are true. It will go to false statement and it will execute. Here I'll get this S. Everything is fine. My code is working fine. But what if the user enters something like this? Because we are given an option for the user to enter. If it was a selection, then we don't have to bother because user cannot enter other than the selections. But what if you're given the option of entering for the user? Now if I run this, let me delete this. Let's run this. Say F8. See, it will go to false statement. I will say S, which is wrong. That means we have to validate this. So what should I do? Let me go back. Let me take this code, put it next to this. I'll make it as validation. So if you see here, this south was not mentioned here. So for that, what's happening? Whatever value which I'm giving, whatever region I'm giving, apart from south, it is taking as south only. Apart from this north, east, west, it is taking as S only. So what we'll do is we'll take south also here and we'll check this south, and here we'll make it as S, and here I'll say invalid region. So what will happen here? I'm saying invalid region. Let me run this. Now if I enter anything apart from these four regions, I'll get invalid region. Let me go here and I'll change this to west, and let me run this program. I'm getting this W. That means my program is perfect now. Let me save this. What if I enter something like this, which is actually not matching with the case? Let me run this. See, it says invalid region. Though I have this east here and east in this table, it is saying invalid region. The reason is I am actually checking east where E is caps. When I'm using this through code like this, the text actually checks even the case as well. See, I'll make it E as caps. Now if I run this, see, it becomes E. How to avoid this? I cannot tell my user to always go here and type exactly like what value I have there. User can enter however he wants. What I'll do is, let me copy this and we'll have one more program. Here we'll try to change the code little bit. So what I'll do here, it says str region and I'm taking this value which is there in R6 and I'm putting it into region. So while assigning the value from R6, what I'll do is I'll change this to U case. And U case is nothing but it is uppercase. Means it is trying to change the value which is there in R6 to uppercase. Once it is changing, what it will do, it will assign the value to this str region. Now in the criteria part, what I'll do is I'll try to change this to caps: north, east, west, south. Now let me run this. Let's go and check. Let's change this to north like this. It is small letters here. If I go here and if I run this, see, str region, this will become north. That means it is changing to capital letters, though it's in the small letters. That is because I've used this U case. Now let me execute this. say F8, see it is matching and it is giving me the result. So whenever I'm using this text, if you feel that you have given an option for user to enter and then you're checking some values like this, make sure that you will try to use this U case, or you can use L case for getting the lower letters, the lower case. Suppose if you're using this L case, then here the criteria should also change to lower case. Fine. These are actually some of the if conditions. Now there is something called as select case. Select case is nothing but the alternative for if statements. I'm using so many statements. You'll say if, else if, else if, else if. Again, if you go here, say here also I'm using else if. Suppose if you go to this program, here also I'm using multiple times else if, which might actually confuse people or say the programmer as well. So how to avoid this, or say how to have an alternative way of working on this? We have something called a select case, which is nothing but it is just alternative of my if statements. How to use that, I'll show you. I'll go here. Let's take this program. It says if it is greater than 5000, it should be high. Otherwise, if it is greater than 2000, it should be medium, otherwise low. We'll take this program first. Let me copy that program. We'll go on top. Here we have this. Let me copy this program and we'll convert this into here. I'll convert this into select case. Make it as select case if condition, or we'll say sales. Let this be same because I'm taking the sales value into this variable. But now what I'll do, I'll use this select case and I'll select end select. See, this is the syntax. Select case and I'm giving the criteria only once the criteria is checked. Next, what I'll do here, I'll say case is greater than 5000. See, this one criteria. Case is greater than 4000. Sorry, make it as 2000. Case else, see, if it is greater than 5000, then here this value should be high. That means E6 equals high. If it is greater than 2000, then I'll say medium. Else, I'll say low. See, here I'm not using if statement, say else if statement multiple times. I'm just using this case statement. That means case is if it is greater than 5000, greater than 2000, directly I can just take. Otherwise, if you go and check this program on top, see here it says if, else if, else. So a lot of confusions. So here I can directly use something like this. Now if I execute, I'll get the same results. It is just alternative of if statement, guys. Again, I'm telling you. So I'm not telling that this is the better way to use or that is the better way to use. You can either use if statement or you can use select case statement. We use this case statement only when there are multiple criteria to be checked. That is left to you again. You have to decide. But whenever we have multiple criteria, it is better to use the select case because it is easy to go and check the criteria. Let's take this one, this example. Let me copy this. Same program. I'll try to do it in select case. Say here, this part, just delete, and I'll say select case, say byte age, and say end select. I will give the criteria, say case is greater than 100. That means it is invalid age. Case is greater than 75. This is one criteria. Case is greater than 40. This is one more criteria. Case is greater than, we had 19. Then case is greater than 12. Then case else. See how quickly we got this. Instead there I have to say a byte age is greater than 100, a byte age is greater than 75. So many codes you have to do. Otherwise, here this will help us in making it very easy. Now if it is greater than 100, that means this K6 should be invalid age. Now copy this and I'll paste it here. Paste it in all the statement like this. Now let's change this. If it is greater than 75, I'll say this should be old. If it is greater than 40, then it should be adult. Then greater than 19, it should be youth. If it is greater than 12, then teenage, otherwise kid. See, same thing which we use for if else if. Now I'm using it as a case statement. I'll say if I, sorry, it's the same name. I'll go here, get age. I'll just change this to select case. Let me execute this. See, let's go and check. I'm getting the result. Let me change this to 5. I should get kid. See, I'm getting kid. Let's go to this. We can convert this program as well. Let's go back and see how we can work on this. Let me copy this, scroll down, I'll paste it here. Let me make it as select case. Yes. Let me delete this. Here I'm taking the value. Now I'll say select case region. Then say end select. So what are the criteria I have? Say case north. I have to give caps here because I'm using their U case. See, it is case north, then south, east, west, and say case else. Let's go here. We'll change this to east, then west, and then south. Now what we'll do? We'll go here. Just take this, and we'll say if this value is north, then it should be n. This S6. S6 dot value should be n. Copy this, and then here east, paste it, west, south, and then this will change to E, this will change to W, this one as S, and this one will say invalid. Now if I execute this, see here, I'm getting the result. Just change this to east, run this, see, I'll get the result. I can use any of them. So I can use either if statement or I can use select statement. Let me summarize this quickly. I have this if statement. If statements are actually conditional statements. We are using this if statement so that if I want to check any criteria and get the result based on the criteria, I'm using this conditional statements. First thing we learned about how to use this if statement, that is if it is only one statement, then I can use if criteria, then the statement in the same line. Otherwise, I can also use like this: if criteria, then the statement, and then end if. If I'm using in the same line, end if is not required. This if and end if is actually used if I need multiple statements to be executed. Same thing cannot be done in my single statement here like this. Let's scroll down. If you want to have a false statement, then I'll use if, else, end if. If you want to have multiple criterias, then I use this if, else if. Suppose if you want false statement, a default statement, then I'll be using this else statement. Else statement is optional. If I'm not giving this, the false statement is not executed. In a if block, I should have if and if. That is compulsory. If I need to have a default value, then I'll be using else. If I need to have multiple criteria, then I'll go to this else if. Else, I can have only one in the complete block. I cannot have multiple if statements. The next, I can use AND operator for using multiple criteria in the same line, or I can also use OR operator depending on the condition what I'm checking. The best practice is to have a sequential order. Suppose if I'm not using sequential order, then I can use something like this. The alternative of these say if conditions, I have select statement, which will help me in reducing the number of else statements. That is, instead of using this else statement multiple times, I'll use this case, which will help me in easily work on multiple conditions. I can use either if statement or select case statement depending on my comfortability. So there is no such rule that you have to use if statement or select statement, but best practice, or the good programming skills is, if I have multiple criterias, then go for select case. Otherwise, go with if statement if it is very less statement to be checked. Okay, so this is for today's topics, that is conditional statements.